SpaceX is trying to launch a new Italian satellite with the Falcon 9, but the launch was scrapped already 4 times. And then Elon Musk's company is planning a record number of 52 launches in 2022. What? Meanwhile, plans for a new Chinese spaceplane were announced, and it won't be the only new spaceplane. So why could a spaceplane be a better choice when we already have the technology to land with rockets? We have a lot to talk about, so stay tuned. So the latest news suggests that a private Chinese company is actively developing a new spaceplane. Space Transportation, very innovative name, wants to build a spaceplane which will fly on a suborbital trajectory and carry its passengers onto a point-to-point journey. This new spaceplane is claimed to be faster than traditional aircraft, while at the same time being cheaper than an orbital rocket flight. This new spaceplane will basically be a rocket with wings, as Space Transportation describes it, and will be fully reusable. The spaceplane is designed to be launched vertically together with the first stage, which has even bigger wings. After separating from the first stage, the second stage will continue its suborbital flight to the destination and eventually propulsively land on its 3 legs in a vertical position. The announced timeline of the development is ambitious. Ground tests in 2023, first flight in 2024, and crewed flight already in 2025. And Space Transportation aims even higher, namely they are planning to fly an orbital crewed spaceplane by 2030. So is this just another slideware, or the modern version of another 3D animation CGI only company? We saw that it's not unusual, even some big and rich companies can be categorized as such, if you know what I mean, huh? But Space Transportation at least already has 2 test vehicles, Tianqing 1 and 2, which performed more than 10 flights in the past. Since these flights took place in the hypersonic regime, not much data is available on these tests because of the sensitive national security nature of the hypersonic flights and hypersonic vehicles. Besides Space Transportation, the state-owned China Aerospace Science and Technology Corporation does have their own spaceplane development programs as well, but the results on their suborbital and orbital launch tests are until now not much known either to the rest of the world. Similar plans to develop a spaceplane were also revealed in the US. The private Washington-based Radian Aerospace company raised $27 million to develop the Radian 1 crewed spaceplane. The purpose of their project is to make space travel as convenient and simple as a commercial flight. And Radian Aerospace also wants to help with orbital research in space industry, Earth observation and rapid global delivery. The last goal is also the main purpose of the USSF rocket cargo program we discussed in the previous video. So how would the Radian 1 spaceplane operate? The Radian 1 will be placed on top of a sled, which will accelerate the spaceplane on an airstrip to a subsonic speed for takeoff. Then it will ignite its rocket engines and ascend with low G-loads. Radian 1 will be able to carry out various missions in orbit for the maximum of a 5-day period. Re-entry and landing will be smooth thanks to the big wings. The spacecraft will be able to take off and land on any 3,048 meters or corresponding to 10,000 feet airstrip. This feature indicates that Radian Aerospace also have plans for point-to-point transportation with their spaceplane project. The payload capacity of the Radian 1 will be 2,270 kilograms, and the spaceplane will be able to deliver its payload anywhere on the planet, where a suitable airstrip can be found, of course, in less than 1 hour. The turnaround time of the spaceplane is claimed to be under 48 hours. Again, a very ambitious project considering that the Radian 1 would be a single stage to orbit vehicle, which is certainly not easy to build. Experienced leadership is a must for such a project, and Livingston Holder, co-founder and CEO of Radian Aerospace, seems to be just that person. He was the head of the Future Space Transportation and the X-33 program at Boeing. 2 other founders are veterans of the Rotary Rocket Company, which aimed to develop the fully reusable SSTO Roton rockets already back in the 1990s. With regard to the safety of crewed flights, the Radian 1 will have 3 engines only used in the ascent phase and thus will be capable to eject the whole crew cabin from the ship in case of an aborted launch or takeoff. Nice plans, but currently they are still not at the fundraising phase yet. Anyways, fingers crossed, the more launch systems we will have, the lower the ticket prices for private space travel will be and the greater the global space industry will grow. But let's take a step back and ask the question, why are space planes such a big deal? Despite the huge success of SpaceX's fully reusable Falcon rockets and the promising development of Starship Super Heavy, why are so many companies still so keen on building a space plane? The advantages of a space plane are namely the following. Their re-entry with a big surface area results in a low G-load. Their ability to glide back to the landing airstrip is basically for free because no additional propellant is needed for it. And lastly, the ascent phase could have a lower gravity lost even with a moderate acceleration. Last but not least, if the engine of the spaceplane is also capable to use the oxygen from the air while ascending and accelerating, the equation is looking even better. For that, perhaps we will see the Skylon as an example with its Sabre engine. To be fair, the main disadvantage of a spaceplane also has to be mentioned, namely their big wings. These wings add an extra weight themselves and are totally useless while flying in space. So one thing is for sure, we won't see any space planes flying to the moon or to Mars. So let's continue with a more conventional rocket, if we can call the Falcon 9 a conventional rocket. SpaceX has planned an incredible number of 52 Falcon 9 launches in 2022, so basically one launch every week. And they should already have launched the 4th Falcon 9 of the year with 2 Italian satellites last week. The original launch date was Thursday, which was postponed by 24 hours because of bad weather conditions. And again, the bad weather with thick clouds called for another scrub. More unfortunately, this scrubbed launch attempt resulted in another delay, as now the Falcon 9 could not deliver the Cosmos Skymed 2nd Generation 2 CSG-2 satellite to join its pair spacecraft, the CSG-1, on their Sun-synchronous polar orbit at the altitude of 620 km on Sunday. The next attempt is now on the 1st of February. The CSG-2 satellite will provide advanced search and rescue services, continuing the work of its predecessor, the first generation CSK satellites. Its objectives are to monitor Earth for the sake of emergency prevention, strategy, scientific and commercial purposes. So SpaceX is living and looking forward to some really busy days. Beside the mentioned CSG-2 launch, a new batch of Starlink satellites and the NROL-87 classified payload are both scheduled to be launched this week. We really hope that the weather won't stand in the way of this tight launch schedule again. In any case, 2022 is going to be a very interesting year for us, friends of human spaceflight. And please subscribe to this channel if you like space news with maybe a dose of added sarcasm from time to time. Thanks a lot in advance. Now back to the Chinese space program. In the last days of 2021, the Chinese Shijian-21 satellite approached the dead and drifting Beidou 2 G2 navigation satellite on a geostationary orbit. Then it successfully docked to the Beidou satellite and performed a long burn on the 22nd of January, sending it to beyond the so-called graveyard orbit, 300 kilometers above the geostationary orbit, or in short, GEO. This way, the malfunctioning Beidou satellite is saved from becoming space debris and won't cause any threats to other satellites in the geostationary orbit anymore. The Saver satellite, the Shijian-21, released its target 4 days later and returned to GEO, probably for other upcoming Chinese space missions. Though we are happy to see the actual steps taken by China to remove space debris, we must be aware that this kind of capability could also be used for other strategic or, let's say, not so peaceful military purposes in the future. In order to keep the orbits around Earth clean and safe, the extension of a satellite's life is a similar approach as to removing the dead spacecraft. Refueling a satellite is another way to revive a dead satellite and to extend its operational period, and China has plans and hardware for that as well. For example, the satellite named Space Tanker was debuted on the 13th China Air Show to fulfill this purpose. The Space Tanker will be using an arm to reach out and attach to the refuel port of other space vehicles. Then the fuel can be transferred to the dead satellite. This method was already demoed in 2017 in the Tiangong-2 Space Laboratory. On the other hand, the American Northrop Grumman's mission extension vehicles, the MEV-1 and MEV-2, are used in a different way to clean space debris. These probes will dock to the target dead satellite, usually to the engine bell, with a simple mechanic docking solution. Then the MEV probes will perform the station keeping and attitude control. This way, an expensive satellite could work for a longer period, and the end-of-life deorbiting maneuver of the satellite can also be executed. Both launched Northrop Grumman's MEV sets are now attached to the Intelsat communication satellites 901 and 1002 in order to extend the operation time of the latter satellites. So the US companies are developing in this direction, but how about Europe, the European Space Agency? ESA is also aware of the danger of space junk and runs the Active Debris Removal in Orbit Servicing (ADRIOS) project. Within this project, ESA signed a $104 million contract with the Swiss Clear Space company for a mission to remove the secondary payload adapter from a 2013 Vega rocket flight. The Clear Space 1 mission is planned to be launched in 2025. It will grab the target object with its 4 spider leg-like arms and then drive it to a deorbiting trajectory and a fiery destiny. It will be a suicide mission for the Clear Space 1 spacecraft. And we must also mention another private company from Japan, Astroscale, which was initially started with the purpose of removing space debris orbiting Earth. Astroscale was founded by Nobu Okada in 2013 in Singapore and opened offices since then in Tokyo, where their headquarters is located now, in the UK and in the US. They have already raised some funding and were awarded with $100 million. Their core technology is a docking platform, a metallic plate, which must be built into the to-be-serviced or to-be-saved satellites. The Astroscale space debris removal probe uses an electromagnet to dock to this plate and so to the target satellite. To achieve this, advanced control and complex maneuvering of the probe is needed because a dead satellite can tumble in a random way. Their demo mission, the ELSA-D, End of Life Services by Astroscale demonstration, was launched in March 2021. It carried a test space debris object weighing 17 kilograms, equipped with the docking plate. The probe managed to release and catch the test object again multiple times. Unfortunately, just a few days ago on the 25th of January, the latest tests were interrupted when an anomaly had been detected on the ELSA-D after it released the test object. The company's Test Operations Center in Hartwell, UK announced that they will try to continue the tests after solving the problem, and we wish them the best of luck in succeeding on this mission. So, friends of human spaceflight, thanks for watching this episode. Our team wishes you all the best and on to the future!